So how can pharmacy teams prepare for the flu service?
So the best way to start preparing for the flu service would be to actually start the promotions before the service launches. So now would be a good time to start having conversations with patients. What I would advise is to make sure the whole pharmacy team, especially medicines counter assistants, is briefed on the service. So who's eligible for the service, when the service starts, when the service finishes, and to have this as a list available on the counter so that your staff members are able to target patients effectively and highlight the service to them. What I would also recommend is to use the prescription bag flyers, attach them to the bags so that when these are handed out to patients, patients are aware that the service is due to start soon. So that way you can start gathering momentum before the service starts to ensure that you can vaccinate as many people as possible.
When and how do pharmacy teams start conversation with patients?
I think it's best to start now. That way you can start gathering momentum before the service launches. And the best thing to do is to ensure the whole pharmacy team is briefed on the service and the patient eligibility criteria, especially the medicines counter assistants, as they are the patient-facing staff members and are able to effectively highlight the service to patients.
Is there anything that we should have on the pharmacy counter to help us with these conversations?
So what I would advise is to print off the patient eligibility list or to put that in a document that's easy to read and refer to, and keep that on the counter so that staff members are able to quickly glance at it so they're reminded of who's eligible for the service, and then they can effectively start targeting patients to let them know that the service is due to start, and then that way people will be aware of the service.
Is there any other marketing material that can be used when interacting with patients?
Yes, so the PSNC website has got lots of resources. One resource that's particularly popular is the prescription bag flyers. So these could be attached to the prescription bags, and when they're handed out, patients will see the flyers and they'll be aware that the service is due to start, and then patients can come and ask you directly, or it will be a useful conversation starter when you're trying to let people know about the service.
How do pharmacy teams identify carers who are eligible for the flu vaccination service?
So we received lots of queries about this last year. It can sometimes be tricky to identify carers for the service, as many people themselves don't identify as carers even though they are. So the key thing to remember is that unpaid care workers are eligible for the NHS service. However, paid care workers are not automatically eligible unless they fall into one of the other eligible groups.
So in pharmacy, would you find it tricky to identify carers? Are there any other resources available to help us?
Yes, so PSNC worked with the Carers Trust to produce lots of resources to help pharmacy teams identify carers that are eligible for the service. So we've got a poster, an infographic, and prescription bag flyers that you can attach to prescription bags so that when people collect their medicines, it's specifically highlighted that carers are eligible for free NHS vaccinations at the pharmacy, so that way it will prompt them to come and speak to you about the service.
So in general, where could I find out more information about the flu vaccination service?
So the PSNC website has got a flu vaccination service hub, so that's got a wealth of information on there. Lots of marketing material that pharmacy teams can use to promote the service. We've got checklists, and all the information that you could possibly need is on our website.
So how can the pharmacy team check whether a patient is eligible for the flu vaccination service?
So a lot of the time you'll already know the patient, you know which medicine they're taking and which condition the patient has. So just through your relationship with the patient, you'll know who's eligible for the service. If it's somebody that doesn't normally collect their prescriptions from you, you can just have a conversation with the patient to find out which medical conditions they have, and that way you'll know if they're eligible or not. If the condition is not specifically mentioned in the service specification or the patient group direction criteria, then you'd have to apply your professional judgment to determine whether the patient is at risk due to the complications of flu. And it's always important to remember, if you're not sure, then it's better to refer the patient to their GP.
Our pharmacy creates its own marketing material. Are there any restrictions?
So there are NHS identity guidelines that you must be aware of if you do wish to create your own promotional resources. We have got a briefing on our website that summarises the relevant elements of that of those guidelines. So I would encourage everybody to have a read of that and to read the NHS guidelines as well, just so that you make sure that you've got everything in accordance to the guidelines.
Are there any restrictions on promoting this service?
So pharmacy teams have to make sure they comply with the terms of service. So examples include offering patients free gifts to get a flu vaccination at the pharmacy. So that's not allowed. So you just have to keep those in mind when promoting the service.
What is the best way to promote this service?
So really the best way is to make the best use of resources and just let everybody know that you are offering the service and that patients are welcome to come and get the flu vaccination at your pharmacy.